black spot down there.
Oh yeah.
It's been slowly expanding. Was buying cat litter, and I like put the box on my leg to shift it, and I pulled my phone messed up. So for a while I've had a big strip right here where I can't touch, and nothing will happen if I touch there.
Oh yeah.
And now there's like another couple strips in random spots.
So you just have to like dodge the dead spots.
Yeah, and and the worst part's for like for typing. So like I can't.
Yeah.
I can hit Y and I.
No.
I can't hit H.
Oh, that would be so infuriating.
Yeah, but my keyboard, you can do this and change the size. So I've gotten really good at like in the middle of texting. That's like a thing I do. Is I like.
Wow.
That's so stupid.
Skills. Yeah, but at least you broke your phone like legitimately, because I still have Apple, and they just freaking die randomly after about 2 years, like, because
it's called planned obsolescence.
Obsolescence.
Is it obsolescence?
I believe.
Well, because the word's obsolete.
Yeah.
So would it not be obsolescence?
It might be. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Either way, yeah, it's horrible.
It is horrible.
I told myself I wouldn't get another iPhone, but then I was like, I don't want to learn how to use a new phone.
I said I wouldn't get one, then I thought about what would happen if I didn't get one.
I'd have to convert all of my Apple Music over to like different
something
format.
else.
It was just like.
I want a flip phone. What if they made like?
Now.
Yeah, do they make ones that? Can I get like Spotify? Do they have like a? I want a flip phone, then I can have Spotify and Bluetooth on. That's all I want. Because otherwise, I don't use my phone for anything but texting. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Do we have anyone watching? One person. How you doing out there, one person? Kai, you tell us when we should get started. Think we can probably go?
Okay.
Okay, since Kai said so, I guess we'll start. Hello, welcome back to the Butterfly House and Aquarium's live stream behind the scenes series, where we take you behind the scenes, show you some stuff you might not normally see when you just come on a regular day here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium. So some cool and neat stuff. Today I am here with Emily. Say hi, Emily.
Hello.
So Emily, tell us what your job here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium is.
So I am the Senior Aquarist. That means I work here with all the animals in our aquarium gallery. But I also act as a kind of supervisory role to the other aquarists that I work with.
Oh, short and sweet. I love it. Yeah.
Concise.
Well, so you're an aquarist, senior aquarist. How did you get into this career field?
Well, I always wanted to work with animals. That was always my passion. It just took me a while to settle on what kind of animal. But it was actually a trip to Discovery Cove in Orlando that got me into the aquatic side of things. And from there, it just kind of developed a fascination for all ocean animals.
And so you just decided that was going to be your job.
That was going to be my job, and so I just went and did it.
Awesome. Awesome. That's inspiring. No, just getting inspired by something and launching headfirst into it. I love it. What's your favorite part of your job here?
Oh my gosh. How do you even pick? I really love just watching our animals flourish and thrive in the environments that we create for them. It's always great to see an exhibit come together. It's great to solve problems. When we have an issue, we can just, watch everything improve over time. It's everything, really. I don't know. I can't pick a favorite.
Sure, it must be nice to be able to use a full range of skills when you're here. It's not like you're doing the exact same thing every day.
There's always something new going on.
Absolutely. I love problem solving. So
Never a dull moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are we going to be showing people today?
Well, today we're going to do a stingray training and feeding session.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what species of stingray do we have, and how many of each do we have?
So we have 2 species, and we have 4 stingrays total. So we do have one southern stingray. He's our larger, rounder guy who's hanging out on the bottom right there. And then we have 3 cow-nose rays, the smaller diamond-shaped ones that are swimming around a bit more actively.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are we going to ask next? Oh yeah, how old are they going to be? And then how old can they live to be?
So our oldest one is our southern. He is 11 years old. And the cownos are about 7 to 8. We don't know exactly when they were born, so we don't know their exact age, but that's our best estimate based on their size. Stingrays in human care have been reported to live up to 25 years. Out in the wild, it's a little bit harder to keep track of, but most estimates are between 13 to 18.
Interesting.
So, yeah, pretty long-lived for fish.
That absolutely is long-lived for fish. Here's a question you didn't know I was going to ask. I just thought of. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. Do they ever put trackers on these guys to like try to track how old they live to be, or like where they go? Is that even possible?
I'm sure that is possible, and I'm sure people do it, but I can't. I don't know
about
offhand.
those specifics.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you said we're going to be doing a feeding today and some training. What do we feed them here, and then out in the wild, what might be their typical diet?
So here we feed them a variety of just fresh seafood, different kinds of fish like capelin, mackerel, herring, and silver sides. We give them shrimp, we give them squid, and we give them clams as an enrichment feed. So just, a whole variety of stuff. It's all harvested sustainably and then shipped here frozen, and we thaw it out and prepare it here in-house. Out in the wild, these guys are going to eat more critters that they can find in the sand beds where they live. So clams, mussels, other bivalves, shrimp that live down in the sand, worms, just anything that they can dig up.
And I'd be correct in saying that part of the reason their mouth is usually either on the bottom or towards the bottom of their body is because they eat stuff that lives on the bottom of the ocean generally, right?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yep, they're built to eat stuff off of the ocean floor.
Well, and you said that they eat, mollusks, bivalves. When I think of those, I think hard shells. So how do they deal with that?
So they have teeth. Even though it looks like they don't, they have a flat set of teeth called a tooth plate that is meant for crushing and grinding the shells of the prey. So they'll just kind of sit there and gnaw on them, crush them down, and then get to the soft, good meat inside.
Wow. So they must have really strong...
Very strong jaws.
Strong jaws,
Not very sharp teeth. They're not really meant for tearing like a shark tooth.
Crushing.
Yeah, just crushing.
Interesting. So how do we feed them here? Do we just throw it in? Or?
No, in order to keep better track of who eats what, we actually do target feeding.
Okay.
So I'll show you some of that.
Sure.
Also, side note, we do give them vitamins 3 times a week.
Remember to take your vitamins.
Yeah. Even stingrays have to take their vitamins. But we have to hide their vitamins in their food, just like you would with your pet dog or cat at home.
Or maybe with a kid who didn't want to eat their vitamins.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Fish and tasty seafood here. We just take their vitamins, press it inside the piece there. Just like that.
Neat.
Alright. So when I think target feeding, this is the target for our cow-nose rays specifically. A tennis ball on a stick. It can be just a piece of laminated cardboard or laminated construction paper. It can be pretty much anything that the animal can recognize. So what we do is we train our animals to recognize these specific shapes. Our cow-nose rays come to these 2 squares. We're also working on separating them a little bit. We're trying to get our male to come to our white square and our female to our black square. That's still a bit of a work in progress, but they're getting the hang of it. Alright, so when I lower their target into the water so that they can see. Someone else got it.
Their lucky day.
Here's our female, so she's coming over to the black square. When we come over to this side of the tank, when we start taking their lid off and messing around with the sides, they know that it's time to eat. Pretty much immediately. We don't know how much they recognize in terms of individual people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they know the shirt color that the staff wears, or if they know individual staff members, if they can tell me apart from another aquarist.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure. But either way, they recognize our routine well enough to know to anticipate when feeding time starts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so these stingrays are obviously here in our touch pool, so they get a lot of interaction with people.
They do.
Do you know, do they enjoy it? Do they just tolerate it? Is it, just kind of, they're like, it's no big deal. You know how they feel about it?
Yeah,
I'm sure it's hard to tell.
It's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
Stingrays are not like dogs or cats where they seek out human attention. They are wild animals. They're not domesticated. They're not tame at all. They are accustomed to human interaction because we do feed them by hand, and they are open for touching. So it's something that they're used to. It's something that they don't mind. If they did mind it, they have space to get away.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can choose to come up and interact helps a lot. So sometimes they'll come up on their own to check out what people are doing and see if there's anyone to touch them. They're very curious animals. But yeah, at the very least, they definitely don't mind it. In their mouth and just kind of pressing the food up against their mouth, and allowing them to grab it themselves. The best way I can describe it is that they kind of slurp. They, just like you would slurp your soup.
Yeah.
They just kind of slurp the food right out of my hand.
Interesting.
They don't use their teeth to bite or anything, so as long as I'm not sticking my fingers directly
into their mouth, then no risk. Right. Does it feel weird when they do it?
It's really soft. They're surprisingly soft and smooth. I think it feels funny. I mean, I love them.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a good feeling for me when they come up and take the food. Have like a couple more pieces. They might be full.
Yeah. But it seemed like that went pretty quickly. Well, they just kind of gobble up all their food at once, and then they're like, I'm good. No, don't need any more right now.
Pretty big handfuls.
Yeah.
And then they can spend as long as they need chewing it and processing that handful. But they take a lot at once, especially when they're really excited. He just refused.
Huh. So is he kind of saying then, I'm good. I don't really want any more.
So we might save that last bite for the afternoon. All good on those 3. But we do still have our southern to feed.
Awesome.
He's been waiting very patiently.
Yeah, I've seen him. He's been just chilling. He's waiting.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and anybody who's probably spent any time around this touch pool will notice that they're, especially the cow-nosed stingrays, the 3.
They spend a lot more time swimming around in groups, whereas our southern stingray is benthic. He spends most of his time down on the ocean floor in the sand, just kind of sitting in place or traveling along the bottom.
Yeah.
So they're just designed differently.
Interesting. Another off-the-wall question.
Yeah. Do
they stop to sleep? Or do they move while they're sleeping?
These guys do stop to rest.
Okay.
So sometimes really early in the morning, right when we turn the lights on out here, they'll all be just kind of sitting in one spot, just
sitting,
hanging out.
Yeah.
Sitting and resting. But most of the time while they're awake, they are up and just kind of casually swimming around.
Huh. That's cool. I remember the first time I ever went to any stingray touch pool, and including the one here, the immediate thought in my mind is, don't people get stung? So tell me a little bit about their ability to sting, and maybe why they don't sting people when they get touched in here.
So the stinging part of a stingray is a barb on their tail, a little barb made of keratin, so it's the same stuff as our fingernails and hair. You can actually see them on our stingrays pretty well. On the cow-nose, it's right at the base of their tail where it comes out of their body. On our southern, it's about halfway up its tail. Let me see if I can get it down here and be on camera with this target. But that barb grows continuously over their they need. So if you just walked up to a stingray, they're not going to try to sting you. They are going to try to run away from you or swim away from you. If you stepped on top of a stingray, that's when they're going to use their barb because they can't get away. And then what they'll do is they'll barb into whatever is trapping them.
Interesting.
The barb is slightly venomous, not deadly to humans at all, but it is enough to cause some pretty severe pain from what I've heard. I've never been stung by one. So
sure, you don't know for sure,
Right.
It depends on the species, right? For how much it would hurt, it's not like every single species is the same. Kind of like a snake's venom could be worse depending. Yeah.
And some are a lot bigger, like our cow-nose rays. Their barbs are about this long, not too big. There are some really large species of stingrays with barbs that can be about this long. So it depends on the species.
Got it.
But the main reason that these guys don't sting is just they are very non-aggressive. They would much rather flee a situation than try to fight. You know, fight or flight, they'd rather flight.
So really the only reason they would realistically ever sting somebody who's trying to touch them is if you like grab them by the tail or something?
Exactly. If you jumped in the tank and stepped on top of one, or if you held one up against the wall and it couldn't get away, that's the only reason they would ever sting.
Interesting.
Otherwise, these guys are very accustomed to human touch, and if something's bothering them, they're just going to move away from it.
That makes me wonder, what do they use their barbs for, their ability to sting for, in the wild? So is it just like if they're in something's mouth or something like that?
So stingrays are preyed very heavily upon by hammerhead sharks because hammerhead sharks have that flat hammer-shaped head to hold them down. So the stingrays will use that barb to sting the shark in the face, pretty much, until it lets them go, or until it doesn't let them go. There are a lot of hammerheads that are found with just barbs in them from stingrays.
Wow.
But it's mostly predator escape. Yep. They really try not to use it if they don't need to. It can take a barb 6 months to grow back after they've lost it, and that's 6 months with no defense mechanism.
Yeah. So if they sting, then their barb is gone.
It can come off.
But not always.
Yeah, it can break off of them. It doesn't always, but they are serrated down the sides, so it's more likely to stick in whatever is being stung.
Wow. That sounds nasty. I don't want to ever get stung by a stingray. That sounds very painful.
Yes.
And we're talking about their barbs that are on their tails.
Yes.
And whenever I'm here, almost the number one question I get is, why are their tails so long?
Their tails themselves function as balance and steering while they swim. So especially with our cow-nosed rays, a species that swim a lot and spend a lot of time up in the water, their tails are long to just kind of help them keep their balance and help them get to where they want to go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, looking at them, I've always wondered if they also have like a dual function of sort of like a cat's whiskers of helping them know what's around them as well. Or is that just completely made up? But I just dreamed that.
They can probably feel things through their tail, but that's not really the function of it.
Got it.
These guys actually have special receptors in their face called electroreceptors that can pick up electric currents given off by living creatures. So they can pick up muscle movements by creatures under the sand by sensing the electric currents that run through the water from that.
So that they don't need any help from their tail to know what's around them.
Nope.
They got it all built in.
They sure do.
That's pretty awesome. Where in the world do these stingrays live?
So these particular species you can find off the East Coast, down into the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, and as far north as the Chesapeake Bay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a wide range.
Yep,
that's a lot.
They spend a lot of time migrating. They actually breed up in the Chesapeake Bay area and then move south over the course of their lifetime.
Oh, interesting.
They are very widespread.
We have a viewer question.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
How much bigger will the cow-nosed rays get?
So they will get to be about the same body size as our southern ray, maybe a little bit wider in the wings than they are now.
Interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a male southern.
We do.
Correct?
Yes.
Females get significantly larger.
Oh yes. Female southern stingrays can get about 6 feet across, about 3 times the size of our boy here.
So if we had a female, she would have trouble fitting in.
She would not.
You might be able to plop her down and then she could not move.
Exactly.
Wow.
She would not be very happy.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Do these stingrays, or even stingrays in general, face any threats in the wild?
Absolutely. Stingrays' biggest threats are humans and overfishing of their prey and overfishing of the stingrays themselves. A lot of people will fish up stingrays to eat. Their meat is edible. However, it's just not a sustainable fishing practice. Stingrays reproduce quite slowly, especially our cow-nosed rays. They usually only have about 1 pup every other year when they breed, so they cannot replenish their population quickly enough to make up for what's being removed.
Do they get caught as bycatch a lot as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially by trawling nets, the ones that come along the bottom.
Exactly, I can imagine that being a huge problem for them.
So it really is human activity that's the biggest threat for these guys.
Seems like you can say that about most animals that are
Pretty much.
that are threatened by something. It's usually human caused.
It's quite unfortunate, yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell us about these stingrays you think people ought to know?
One fun thing about stingrays, they don't have any bones.
Ah.
Their skeleton is entirely cartilage, just like a shark.
And they're fairly closely related to sharks,
They
right?
are fairly
They're cousins. They're
yeah, pretty much.
interesting.
They're both, excuse me, in a group of fish called elasmobranchs.
Interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, sharks also have those electroreceptors
They do.
in their face to sense those muscle movements. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Does anyone else want to know anything specific about
Yeah,
this?
if anyone has any questions, now would be the time to ask. We appreciate our viewer question. That was a great question.
Absolutely.
I didn't think of it.
Oh.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it. Well, if no one else has any questions, hopefully no one's typing furiously as I am about to wrap this up, but if you are, we'll answer your question regardless, don't worry. Thank you, Emily, so much
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for showing us how we feed our stingrays and obviously telling us all about stingrays. I think stingrays are awesome.
I think
they're probably one of our most popular things here. People love standing here and looking at the stingrays. Anytime I have a school group here, stingrays are where they immediately want to go, so it makes sense. And thank you, dear viewer, for tuning in and watching another behind the scenes here at the Butterfly House and Aquarium. We love showing everyone what happens here when you're not here. It's not like it's a big secret, it's just we're not open yet. So it's a lot of fun to get to show people what's going on. And hopefully you'll tune in next time when we show you something else. I don't know what yet, but it'll be interesting, I can guarantee you. So thanks. Bye.
Bye.